She wasn't breathing. That's what Brook Lynn Quartermaine thought the second she saw the woman lying motionless on the cold pavement. 1 second she was walking beside Harrison Chase, talking about nothing in particular, and the next, her entire world tilted. Because that wasn't a shadow. That was a body. And within minutes, Brook Lynn and Chase would find themselves standing at the center of a moment that could change their lives forever. A stranger. A pregnancy. A fight for survival. And possibly the baby they've been praying for. Brook Lynn freezes at first, her breath catches. There's something deeply wrong about the way the woman is positioned, too still, too quiet. Chase, she whispers. He follows her gaze. Instantly his training kicks in. He moves fast, scanning the surroundings before dropping to his knees beside the woman. She's young, pale, unconscious. And then Brook Lynn notices something else. The curve of her stomach. Pregnant. Very pregnant. The realization hits like a wave. Chase checks for a pulse. It's faint, weak, but there. Relief flickers across his face, but only for a second, because this isn't just a collapsed pedestrian. There are marks on her arm, scrapes, signs that suggest this wasn't a simple fall. Brook Lynn's heart pounds. Who is she? What happened to her? And how long has she been lying here alone? Chase calls for emergency services, his voice steady but urgent. Brook Lynn kneels beside the woman, gently touching her shoulder. "Can you hear me?" she asks softly. No response. Sirens begin to echo in the distance. But then something unexpected happens. The woman's hand twitches. Her lips part slightly as if she's trying to speak. Brook Lynn leans closer, her heart racing. Is she trying to say a name? Is she trying to warn them? Before she can make it out, the woman slips back into silence. Paramedics arrive and quickly assess the situation. They confirm what Brook Lynn and Chase already fear. She's in serious distress. And so is the baby. As the stretcher is lifted into the ambulance, Brook Lynn and Chase exchange a look neither of them expected to share tonight. Fear, hope, and something else. Something deeper. Because as the ambulance doors slam shut, Brook Lynn can't shake the feeling that this isn't random. This woman, later identified as Delilah, didn't just cross their path by accident. At General Hospital, chaos unfolds the moment Delilah is wheeled into the emergency room. Doctors move quickly, nurses call out vital signs. The atmosphere is tense, urgent, electric. Brook Lynn stands near the wall, arms wrapped around herself, trying to steady her breathing. Chase remains close, watching every move. He's seen emergencies before, he's handled crime scenes, gunshots, and worse, but this feels different. This feels personal. A doctor pulls them aside briefly. Delilah is in critical condition, severe trauma, possible internal bleeding. And yes, she's in late pregnancy. They suspect she may already be in early labor. Brook Lynn's chest tightens. Labor. Now, the idea of this baby entering the world under these circumstances feels overwhelming. But another question lingers in Chase's mind. What if this wasn't an accident? There are signs Delilah may have been attacked, a robbery, a mugging, something violent. If that's true, someone out there hurt a pregnant woman and left her for dead. And that means this isn't just a medical crisis. It's a crime. Later, Chase will need to speak with Nathan West. An investigation will begin, evidence will be gathered, questions will be asked. But right now, none of that matters as much as the sound coming from inside the trauma bay. A sudden spike in urgency. A nurse calls for surgical prep. Delilah's condition is worsening. They may need to perform an emergency C-section. Brook Lynn's pulse pounds in her ears. Everything is moving too fast. Minutes ago, she didn't even know this woman existed. Now she's silently praying for her survival. As doctors rush Delilah toward surgery, Brook Lynn finds herself gripping Chase's hand without even realizing it. He squeezes back. Neither of them speak. Because what can you say in a moment like this? Inside the operating room, doctors fight against the clock. Delilah's vitals are unstable. The baby's heart rate is dropping. There's no time to waste. And then, a cry. Sharp, clear, powerful. A newborn cry fills the hallway outside. Brook Lynn's eyes widen, tears instantly well up. The baby is alive. For one suspended moment, relief washes over everything else. But then reality returns. What about Delilah? The hallway feels colder suddenly. The door to the OR remains closed. Time stretches. Finally, a doctor emerges. The baby is stable, but Delilah remains critical. She hasn't regained consciousness. And they don't know if she will. Brook Lynn presses a trembling hand to her mouth. She doesn't know this woman, she doesn't know her story, but the thought of her never waking up, never holding her child feels unbearably cruel. Chase rests a steadying hand on Brook Lynn's back. This is where things shift. Because if Delilah doesn't survive, that baby will need someone. Social services will step in, questions about the father will arise, family members will be contacted. But what if there are none? What if Delilah came to Port Charles alone? What if there's no one waiting for her? Brook Lynn can't stop thinking about the nursery down the hall. About that tiny cry. About how fragile and perfect it sounded. She and Chase have talked about adoption before, they've dreamed about starting a family, they've imagined what it would feel like. But this wasn't planned. This wasn't part of some careful, hopeful timeline. This is tragedy wrapped in possibility. And that makes it complicated. Because wanting this baby could feel wrong. Selfish. Too soon. Chase sees the conflict in Brook Lynn's eyes, he feels it too. They would never take advantage of someone else's pain. But what if fate just handed them something they've been praying for? As night settles over Port Charles, Delilah remains in critical condition. Machines beep steadily. The baby rests in the nursery, unaware of the storm surrounding its first hours of life. And Brook Lynn lies awake, staring at the ceiling, unable to shake the image of that small bundle wrapped in hospital blankets. She doesn't say it out loud. But something inside her has already changed. Morning arrives quietly, but nothing feels calm. At General Hospital, doctors deliver an update. Delilah is still unresponsive. There's brain swelling, complications from blood loss. They're doing everything they can. But the truth hangs heavy in the air. She may not wake up. Chase meets with Nathan West, sharing details about where Delilah was found, the location, the signs of struggle, the possibility of an attack. Nathan listens carefully. If someone did this, they won't get away with it. An official investigation begins. Meanwhile, Brook Lynn asks to see the baby. The nurse hesitates only briefly before getting her into the nursery. There inside a clear bassinet lies a tiny life that survived impossible odds. Brook Lynn steps closer. The baby's fingers curl softly. Its chest rises and falls in steady rhythm. So small, so innocent. And suddenly Brook Lynn feels something powerful and undeniable. Connection. She doesn't touch the glass at first, she just watches. Imagines. What if this child has no one? What if this is the reason they were there last night? Chase joins her quietly. He sees it too. Not just the baby, but the hope forming in Brook Lynn's eyes. They don't make any promises. They don't jump to conclusions. But the thought lingers. Social services begin asking questions, they search for relatives, they attempt to identify the father. So far, nothing solid. No immediate next of kins. No partner stepping forward. Just silence. And silence can change everything. But then late that afternoon, something unexpected happens. Delilah shows a faint response. A slight movement. A flicker of awareness. Doctors rush in. Brook Lynn and Chase wait outside, breath held. If Delilah wakes up, everything changes again. Because she gets to decide. She gets to hold her baby. She gets to choose what happens next. And maybe, just maybe, she looks at Brook Lynn and sees the woman who stayed. The woman who didn't walk away. The woman who whispered to her on the pavement when she was alone and scared. Or maybe she doesn't wake up at all. Maybe the decision falls to the system. And maybe that system looks at Chase and Brook Lynn, stable, loving, ready, and sees the perfect home. But this is Port Charles. And nothing stays simple. What if someone appears claiming to be the father? What if that person has secrets? What if Delilah's past holds dangers no one saw coming? Because if this was an attack, the attacker might not be finished. Chase knows that better than anyone. He will protect this child with everything he has. But stepping into that role means stepping into potential risk. Brook Lynn understands that too. Becoming parents might not just mean midnight feedings and lullabies. It might mean court battles, investigations, unexpected enemies. Still, when she looks at that baby, none of those fears outweigh the pull she feels. This story is only beginning. Delilah entered Port Charles as a stranger. But she may leave behind something permanent. A legacy. A child. A family forged from tragedy and hope. So now the question is yours. Do you think Delilah survives and chooses Chase and Brook Lynn herself? Or does fate take a heartbreaking turn that places this baby in their arms forever? And if someone dangerous is tied to Delilah's past, are Chase and Brook Lynn ready for that storm? Share your thoughts below. I truly want to know where you think this storyline is heading. And if you love deep, emotional General Hospital breakdowns and daily spoilers like this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss what's coming next in Port Charles. Because this story, it's just getting started.